back, boxing fans. So I was just listening to True School Sports, and it's no surprise, of course, he's fucking dick riding Samson and David with their whole bullshit, and of course, hating on Turkey. Because he already exposed himself a long time ago being anti Turkey, with his pro America. Fucking people, man. Like, you're so pro America, you're trying to build your channel up based on the backs of Japan. But okay, because Americans that watch your channel don't care about Japanese fighters. So try to deal with that, right? You can make all the Japanese content in the world, but Americans ain't going to buy it. So, you know, the point of that is kind of a waste of time unless you're just being a fair boxing channel. But unfortunately, most of these dudes just can't be fair. It's all agenda driven. You know, push for Inui to move to 126, all so that Angelo Leo can get an opportunity, right? He can't unify or do anything on his own. He got to try to dick ride off of course, Inui's back, right? David been dick riding off Canelo's fucking back for years, even though he had opportunities to fight Smith, Plant, Zerto, well before Canelo even moved to the division. Didn't do shit, right? Except try to build his name off of Canelo Alvarez. Now, this dumbass moves up to 175, right? And still clout chasing Canelo, the irony behind it, and basically is talking himself out of a career high payday and a legacy fight. And okay, fine. So the WBC, as corrupt as they are, right? These sanctioning bodies fucking have long been the ruination of the sport of boxing. But okay, so the WBC forces a purse bid. Bivol says, sorry, I said I would do the fight in June. David said, I can't do the fight in June. I'm injured. Okay. But so now everyone has to fucking move to your pace, to the pace you want, right? Because this is what the PBC does. They always try to play this bullshit fucking PR game, right? They did it with Deontay Wilder. They did it with Errol Spence. They're now doing it with Tank Davis. Of course, they're fucking now doing it with David Benavidez. And the irony is the majority of the people who support the PBC don't really even fucking fuck with David Benavidez. It's just they don't fuck with Canelo. So it's, the friend of your enemy is or the enemy of your friend is your friend, right? That kind of scenario. But think about this rationally. So Turkey says, I want to make Benavidez versus the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, right? He says, come to the fight, we'll help promote it, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. David Benavidez says, I don't want to do fights in Saudi Arabia. I'm a superstar in America. yeah, okay. Yeah, you're a fucking superstar. No, none of your pay-per-views fucking have done 150,000 pay-per-view buys. The 3 or 4 of them that you've done. But yeah, okay, you're a superstar. So now Bivol is going to go to America, Vegas, to fight you and not do 150,000 pay-per-view buys because you're not a fucking superstar. You're not a face of American boxing. But let's keep telling ourselves that somehow David Benavidez is somehow this superstar fighter that everybody wants to watch, even though nobody watched him versus Plant, nobody watched him versus Andrade, nobody watched him versus Morrell. But now people are going to watch him versus Bivol, a Russian fighter with very little to no fan base in America. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we know that's going to be a fucking super successful fight in the U.S. But, okay. So you go to Saudi Arabia to sit ringside for the second fight, the rematch between Bivol and Beterbiev. And what do you do? You don't even stay for the fight. You leave before the fight starts. Also that you don't have to sit down with Saudi Arabia, Turkey Al-Sheikh in this case. You don't have to get called into the ring to help promote the fight between you and the winner, right? Because heaven forbid you do that. I mean, why would you actually work for the benefit of a fight that you're not really interested in fucking making, right? Because we know you're not interested in making it. Just like Wilder was not interested in a fucking AJ fight, unless, of course, everything was on the PBC's terms. Just like, really, Errol Spence, not him specifically, but the PBC wasn't interested in a Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence fight, unless, of course, everything was in the PBC's favor. Unfortunately for them, Errol Spence, went against the code and ended up getting exposed in the process. Tank Davis is staying the code, so he ain't fighting fucking nobody. David Benavidez, he ain't fighting nobody, right? He moves up to 175, fights Vosdick, who's been retired for 4 years, and somehow beating Vosdick makes him the WBC mandatory. So fighting a guy who'd been retired for 4 years made you a mandatory. Please explain fucking the logistics for that, because I don't understand how that works. But okay, so now anyways, you have the chance to sit down with Turki Al-Sheikh, who invited you to Saudi Arabia, stated he wanted to make the fight, and then you walk away. And you wonder why at that point Turkey's like, fuck this guy, fuck those guys. Because they're so full of shit, they ain't interested in making fights. They're interested in trying to make themselves look good through PR on social media, but never fucking actually step in the ring and give fans the fights that they want, right? This is why Tim Tszyu had a falling out with Turkey, because he did the same thing. This is why Turkey has not even reached out to Tank Davis after the initial situation, because Tank Davis basically showed that he ain't interested in making it. Canelo did the same thing, but unlike these guys, Canelo actually is smart enough and business savvy enough to realize that I might as well listen to the guy and see exactly what's on the table and what options are available to me. And Canelo did it, and obviously now he's getting paid huge cash and you know, fighting in Saudi Arabia, Vegas, making, you know, the Bud Crawford, obviously Canelo Alvarez fight, and obviously much, much more. We will see what that leads to moving forward. But Benavidez did exactly what the other guys did. Show that he's not interested in sitting down. He's not interested in negotiating. He's not interested in coming to terms to make a fight that anybody wants. He'd rather inherit a fucking WBC title after the WBC, who obviously got some payola from Al Heyman and the PBC, forced this purse bid, even though what was the point of it? What's the point of forcing Bivol, who just came off of back-to-back fights with Better BF, who was a unified champion and the WBC champion? So he just beat the WBC champion, but already he's inclined to defend that title. Explain that to me. Because literally Better BF has been a long reigning champion. He just unified, became undisputed by beating Bivol, rematch Bivol who beat him, and now of course he has to somehow defend that title against a 168-pound fighter. Yeah, that makes fucking all the sense in the world to brain dead motherfuckers that have no common sense and are too busy pushing narratives as opposed to just being boxing fans. Because the reality is, this guy was offered a Callum Smith fight for huge cash to be on the undercard of Bivol Better BF 2, which would only help build and promote the potential fight between him and the inevitable winner of that fight for undisputed, which is obviously the biggest accomplishment David Benavidez has ever achieved, and probably the biggest accomplishment he will ever achieve, if he would have won, even though I don't think he would have beat either one of them, but okay. So instead of taking that, where you're guaranteed two huge fights, probably at least $10 million a fight, right? Career high paydays, and an opportunity to fight for undisputed, you rather push this, oh, I'm a fucking Vegas fighter, I'm building my name in Vegas. Well, you're from fucking Seattle. So, you know, please, let's stop with the bullshit. Because if he gets the WBC title, I want all these hardcore David Benavidez fans to please explain to me who David Benavidez is going to fight afterwards. Because we know Bivol is going to fight Better BF for a third fight, right? Meaning that Benavidez is going to be a WBC title holder, not a champion, because you got to beat people to be champions, but he'll be a WBC fucking title holder. And then what's he going to do? Of course, do what PBC fighters consistently have done. Cherry pick in-house fucking low-level fucking PBC type of opponents, right? That's what he's going to do. And then they're going to continue to use PR to blame it on everybody else as if they're the ones not interested in making the fights. They're the ones that don't want to negotiate, even though literally you're the one that walked away from negotiation. Literally, you fucking flew to fucking Saudi Arabia to negotiate, only to then fly out of Saudi Arabia avoiding negotiation. And then what do? You start negotiating on social media. You get your brain dead fucking manager, fucking what's his face, who contradicts everything you say. Whatever happened, all those other contradictions we've heard time and time and time again between Benavidez, his father, and that fucking manager of his, right? You know, anybody that follows the sport can't take anything that team says seriously because we know they're full of shit. And when it comes from the PBC, we know they're full of shit. We've literally had years of seeing exactly how they fucking do things. We saw the last time there was an opportunity to unify at 175 pounds, what the PBC did. Literally, Adonis Stevenson and Kovalev had agreed to the fight. Al Heyman slides in, becomes the manager for Adonis Stevenson, and all of a sudden, that fight fucking falls through. And then Adonis Stevenson does what? Go on a bum tour, fighting nobodies, and acting as if it's Kovalev, his fault. He's the one that stopped the fight from happening. He's the one that doesn't want the fight. Oh, now he's racist, so now we don't want the fight because we don't want to work with a racist. Like, whatever. Like, this stuff is just consistently what's wrong with American boxing fans and primarily American boxers and American YouTube channels. They're more interested in fucking drama than actually making fights. Because if you want to actually support this bullshit from the PBC and David Benavidez, you just expose yourself. Because we know who the champion is, and that's Dimitri Bivol. And the guy that needs to fight Bivol is David Benavidez. Bivol does not need to fight Benavidez. If he never fights David Benavidez, that's not going to fucking hurt his legacy. He already beat unified cruiserweight and obviously 168-pound champion Zurdo Ramirez. He already beat undisputed, undefeated, 100% knockout ratio percentage Better BF. He already beat pound for pound number one, 4-weight world champion and 168-pound undisputed champion Canelo Alvarez. David Benavidez has done sweet fuck all. You beat a Caleb Plant that Canelo already knocked out. You beat a Demetrius Andrade who'd never even beat a champ, never even fought a fucking champion. And then you beat Morrell, who had 12 fucking professional fights and had never faced a top level fighter at 168 or 175. But based on that scintillating resume, somehow now you're going to be the A side. Somehow you're the man at 175. You're the face of the division. Please stop. Bivol can rematch fucking Canelo Alvarez, make fucking way more money than he could ever dream of making fucking fighting David Benavidez. And there, David doesn't get a Canelo fight. He doesn't get a Bivol fight. Better BF probably going to retire, so he's not going to get a Better BF fight. Literally, he moved up to his second division, and he still got nobody to fucking fight. Congratulations. You're digging yourself a hole very similar to what Tank Davis has done in his career. Very similar to what Deontay Wilder did in his career, right? You guys dig your holes, flushing your careers down the drain, all so that on social media, you can act as if it's not me, it's them. But, sorry, we don't buy that shit anymore.